keep talking at this level. What do y'all?
You don't need a microphone.
I really don't like you. I can't stand here myself. So anyway, but I'm Patty Alderman from Alderman Farms, and I want to let y'all know we do have a YouTube channel where I have a lot of different videos on there with bread baking. If you would like some different recipes, and I usually do it step by step, so you can actually follow along. So I'm going to be doing 2 different breads today. And I wanted to ask, do any of y'all already make bread here in the room? Oh, so a good bit of y'all. That's great. I don't have a whole lot of time, so I want to jump right in. I want to show you my favorite bread. It's our Pita Bread, and I'm going to make it up. And also, I don't have enough of these to go around, but I do have the 2 recipes that I'm going to be making. So even if you want to take a picture of it, to have it on your phone, and I think I have 20-something copies. I ran out of paper. So anyway, so I'm going to make my Pita Bread. And I'm going to put some sourdough starter in it. I'm going to talk a little bit about sourdough, but not a ton, because this is bread baking for dummies. So I wanted to start out real simple and then move up. So not that I think anybody's dummies, but I guess that's the catchphrase, you know, to say we don't really know how to do something. All right, so I'm going to put, and it's supposed to be warm water, but I'm using this, and it's a 1/2 cup of water. And I found this recipe, I ended up making this recipe from another recipe. And you know what, I'm not going by what I have written down, so I'm going to be saying things twice, because I'm talking. I'm saying the other, anyway. All right, you're not supposed to, I heard you're not supposed to use metal with sourdough, but I'm fixing to do it to stir it down. This is my sourdough starter, and to me, this makes all the difference in pita bread. I've tried different pita recipes, because we really like pita bread, and I never could make it good. I never could. And so when I started doing this recipe, it's so easy, you know, and it works really good. But I will say this, because I am going to roll this out in the next class, and it's not going to be easy, and it's probably going to be ugly, because this does so much better after it's been refrigerated. So this pita bread's not going to be refrigerated, obviously. All right, so that was a 1/2 cup of water and a 1/4 cup of sourdough starter. And I made a boo-boo with my starter. I haven't had it out in a while, because I'll even take this starter straight out of the refrigerator and use it for my pita bread. And I hadn't fed my starter in a long time, and so it's real lazy, but it smells good. It's going to have the taste, but it's just not, it don't have a lot of the rising capability. Okay, let's see. Here is, I just brought all my little stuff in a bag to be easy. I'm going to use Spelt Flour in this pita dough, and so I have 3/4 teaspoon of salt. I'm going to put 1½ teaspoons of flax, a 1/2 teaspoon of chia seeds, a 1/4 teaspoon of psyllium husk, and I did put like a 1/4 teaspoon of yeast in here, because like I said, my starter is not very active. And I'll explain about all these different things in the next class, why I'm putting these different things in there, the flax seeds and chia and all that stuff. All right, then I'm just going to mix that up. And this calls for 1 to 1½ cups of flour. And if you don't do spelt, that's fine. You can use any flour in this, but the amount of flour you put in may be a little bit different. But I'm going to show you, this is going to be a real sticky dough. Real sticky. And I just dumped that whole cup in, and I'm just going to mix it up, because like I said, this is a lot of liquid for the amount of flour. I think you would consider this a batter dough. And you can take this and make little rolls with it and stuff like that. I've done it in a pinch. I've made like some little hamburger buns with it and stuff. Let's see. And I'm just going to, since, you know, and bacon is different from different environments. So at home, I know I would use this whole 1/2 cup of spelt in here, but I don't know about up here, because different environment. But it was very moist this morning. It was very damp. I was really surprised at how damp it was. I felt like I was back home. All right, now see, I think I put about 1/4 of a cup of the flour in here. And can you see how sticky that is? I could not knead this, and that's how I want it. I want it sticky. And I'm just going to let that sit like this. And then you want to put your lid on it, but don't put it all the way on it. You set it, like if you're just using sourdough starter, you know, sometimes it may take 4 hours for it to rise up. But what you want to do is let it rise one time, then you can put it in the refrigerator. And it'll stay good for a couple of weeks. I've left it in mine. And then when you want pita, just pull it out and make your pita when it's cold. And I make it when it's cold. So, okay, so that's that. We'll do that the next class. One thing I wanted y'all to understand is that I haven't always been a bread baker. I remember going to a family reunion when I was in my 20s with Tommy, and his Aunt Dossie made sourdough bread. And I was so amazed. I didn't know you could make homemade bread. And so I went home with the recipe and everything. I was so excited, and it was a huge flop. I mean, huge flop. And so fast forward a few years, when I found out about all the different ingredients that were in our food, because you can't even pronounce all the stuff that's on the back of it. Even the better bread at the store has got so many additives in it. So then I started baking my own bread, not sourdough, but I started making more of our own bread. And so then fast forward a few more years, we moved to Mississippi where Tommy's Aunt Dossie lived. That's where I learned about sourdough. I didn't really start making it a lot then, but I did make it some. And when I started selling at the farmer's market, that's when I started doing a lot of sourdough. And unfortunately, Aunt Dossie had already died because she'd have been so proud that I was selling her bread, you know. But anyway, I just want y'all to understand that, you know, I didn't grow up with my mom making bread and all. And now I can make any bread. I can make any bread. My mama was born in 1923. So you would think she would have made bread. You would think her mama would have made bread. But they didn't. My grandfather was blessed to have a job at Exxon Refinery in Baton Rouge, and so they had money. They bought their bread, even back when my mama was there, which blew my mind. I would have thought, you know, they would have at least made homemade bread, but they didn't. So bread just takes just a few ingredients. You can make bread with just flour, water, and leavening, which could be store-bought yeast or sourdough starter. I thought you had to at least have salt and oil in bread. And when I found the recipe that I've converted over to my pita bread, that's what it did. It just had those 4 ingredients: water, flour, yeast, and salt. That's it. And this is an example of that right there. This is a loaf of bread just made with those 4 ingredients. Anyway, let's see. One of my biggest challenges for understanding how my biggest challenge was understanding how the dough was supposed to feel and look. You know, and of course, when I started doing bread, that was before the internet was like it is now. You know, you can watch so many videos. But that was my biggest challenge, and so I'm gonna make my white bread recipe. Now it does have different ingredients in it rather than this one, but I'm gonna mix it up where you can see it. And to see the process, I don't do a ton of kneading. I know a lot of recipes say knead for 15 minutes and all that. I knead it till it comes together and it's the right consistency. So I'm going to demonstrate that now. And let's see, I'm talking really fast, but I'm right where I wanted to be. So I wanted to give myself 15 minutes for this. So I'm going to make white bread. I'm going to put this spelt flour up. Oh, and yeah, look at this. I'm going to cover my bread with this. This is one of those things that are made with beeswax in lieu of using saran wrap. So I love mine.
Saran wrap is of the devil.
He can't
I feel like I'm in a death match every time she tells me to cover something with the plastic wrap. I end up getting covered with the plastic wrap.
Okay, so this will have a hint of sourdough to it. All right, so it's 1 cup of water plus 1 tablespoon. So I'm just going to put a little bit more, like that. That's about a tablespoon extra. All right, now, the next is, I got another little bag somewhere. Oh, right here, it's right here. I have it. That was scaring me because I've not made bread with water and flour, so. All right, so this is 2 tablespoons of sugar, 1 tablespoon of yeast, and 1.5 teaspoons of salt. So I'm just gonna put all that in there. And this, like I said, this is plain old white bread. And this is, I don't use this now. I used to use this flour, but I use this for the farmer's market too. It's Wheat Montana Farms flour, and I really liked it. And it's white flour, so it made a good loaf. And the recipe calls for 3 cups of flour. Oh, I'm gonna mix my yeast up, don't I? My fork goes. And I don't know why. What do y'all that make bread? What do y'all mix your bread up with? A spoon or a fork? I always use a fork.
What is it?
Huh? Even in a liquid? Even before you get your flour in there? Like to stir this up?
Oh, just to stir it.
With a spoon or a fork?
A spoon?
Yeah.
I always just, I don't know why, I always went to a fork. And I say that wrong too, I know. I say it right to me, but my kids even make fun of me. It's not a Mississippi thing, it's a Patty thing. So,
It's a personal lingo.
I guess so. And you know, I noticed my mama used to say things wrong. And, had her certain way of saying things. And I didn't realize I didn't say things right. And I thought, well, no wonder I can't spell. I don't talk right, And so I'll just incorporate 1 cup at a time until I get to the 3rd cup. And it doesn't have to be mixed up super good.
About 12 minutes.
12 minutes? I gave myself 15 minutes to make bread, but we're going to have questions too.
You
So.
got a giant pot back here.
Oh, don't tell me that now. I didn't see that before, babe. Thanks.
My bad.
All right, now I want you to see how it looks after I've put 2 cups of flour in it. It's really coming together. It actually looks a lot like my pita bread dough. And I think that's maybe one reason I never was successful with the pita, because I've never used a real wet dough. I tried to use more flour dough, more bread dough, once it was made. And I think that's the key, is having a more wet dough. I haven't tried making it with different, like at this point with my bread. And I need to try and do that, because that might be the only difference, is that this recipe is just more of a wet dough. All right, now here's my 3rd cup of flour, and I'm seeing by how well this has come together, I don't think I'm going to need that whole 1 cup of flour. So I'm just going to add a little bit of that in at a time, and I'm going to go ahead and put my hands in it and start kneading it. That's what I just knead like my last cup to a 1/2 cup of flour in. At home, I think I could have added about a 1/2 cup of flour and stirred it in, but this is more dry here. And I'll just start kneading it in. And maybe that's why I don't use such a long kneading process, but like I said, I use my fist, and I just punch it down. And then I'm picking it up. Can y'all see what I'm doing in the bowl when it's down? No? What I'm doing, I'm picking it up and turning it over like that.
Do you need to hold it?
Well, no, I don't think it would work. It would be good.
Before I drop it.
I guess it'd be good if I don't do my bread on the counter. I just do it in a bowl. And somebody was telling me, said, I don't mind making bread anymore because it doesn't make such a mess to have to clean up. And this is the way I've always done it. It looks cool when you see it on the videos, though, when they do it on the counter. And see, see how floury it is? And what I do, when it's in the bowl, I'm turning it over and punching it down. And turning it over and punching it down like that. And see, then it's sticky over here. You see it sticking to my hands? And so you're working flour in. It's real sticky still. And so and you're turning it over because your flour's gotten on the bottom of your bowl. I was really worried I didn't bring enough flour because as moist as it was this morning, but now I'm not going to use as much flour as I thought, so I'll have some left. I want to tell y'all too, this is going to rise, and then during the next class I'm going to put it into a loaf, and then it'll rise, and I'm going to bring it over to the sun oven booth, and they're going to bake it for me. Yeah, so it'll be neat to have it baked in there. So now, by using less flour, it is going to make a smaller loaf, though. So I think I've used 3 3/4 cup of flour. So if you wrote the recipe down, just put on there 2.5 to 3 cups. And I don't know how long I've been kneading. I'm starting to sweat, so maybe I've kneaded.
You may have to add more flour if you sweat too much.
Okay. Now here's my dough. It's all together. I probably could knead a little bit more flour into it. If you put too much flour, if you knead too much flour into it, it's going to make a drier loaf. You know. Oh, you know what I forgot? I didn't put the butter in here. And it's written on the recipe. But anyway, we know that we don't have to have oil in bread because these are made without oil. So, I'm not going to sweat it. Before, I would have tried to work oil into this, or butter into it. But, anyway, so this bread has come together, and as it rises, it's going to, the elasticity to it is going to get better, and it'll be more stretchy and everything. And I don't understand all the technical stuff about it, but anyway, I can't think of the word I want to use, but it gets not more gelatinous, but I don't know. But anyway, where you can do that when to pain test, you know, I don't do that, but you know, that's when you would do that test where you can pull it and see, and it gets more stretchy. I am going to put a little bit more flour in it. What's funny too is when I was doing sourdough, I've got a giant mixer that Tommy got for me for doing the farmer's market because I did a lot of loaves. And I used to just mix it all by hand. And I have these two, they're dish pans from like a restaurant, you know, I have 2 of them. And so I would have one and I'd have one for Tommy, and I'd put the ingredients and he'd stir one and I'd stir one, and we'd start adding the flour just like we've done here, but on a large scale. And you see, I've got some stuff on my hands, not that much. Tommy's hands would be caked with bread. It was the weirdest thing. So if you can still make bread because Tommy did it, but I don't know. It's just
Yeah, if I
funny.
can do it, you can do it.
All right, now I'm going to stop. I think this is good. And I have a little bit of flour left in there, so I'm going to put that back in there. Now, I'm going to tell you this. I used to be a firm believer of oiling my bowl for my bread to rise. I don't always do that anymore. You do kind of have to scrape it out, you know, some. But I don't oil my bowl so much anymore. So I'm just going to put that in here. And I'm going to put my little... Oh, I guess I better wipe that off. What's so neat about this little bees, I forget what you call these too. What's so neat is that it, because of the warmth of your hand, of course you've got to wash this in cold water because it would wash your beeswax off of it. But just the warmth of your hand will make it stick on there. So, there we go. There is the white bread. Okay. So see, you always know when I've been working because I always get dirty. All right, the next class we're going to discuss the different kinds of flours and bread ingredients. And also, I want to let y'all know I have these recipes. This one's wet, but it can be taken too. They're right there. Y'all welcome to take one. And I did bring my old sourdough books that we had printed for when we go to conferences. We're selling just for $5, and I brought my little Instant Pot book too. It's $5. That we had those as ebooks, and we had printed some, you know, where we go to shows and stuff. But I wanted to show you, I have a new, updated and revised sourdough book. If any of y'all are interested, it's got new recipes in it. And this is, you don't get this, you get an ebook. I printed it out. But anyway, it's got more recipes in it if you want to look. I've got a spelt recipe in it, rye, just some different stuff. I'll set this over there if y'all want to look at it. And we have a discount code, and what is the discount code, baby?
Off grid.
Off grid, and you get 50% off. So, and that's good
So
through,
aldermanfarms.net
oh yeah,
/ebooks.
gotta know where to get it, I forget it.
aldermanfarms.net /ebooks. And you know, at checkout, you'll have a place to put a coupon code,
Off grid.
off grid.
Yeah.
All together.
So if y'all are interested in that. And so, do y'all have any questions? Oh, we got 5 minutes for questions. Any questions so far? And like I said, we are gonna cover some other stuff in the next class. Yes, ma'am?
Are you sure you're from Mississippi? You talk awful fast.
Well, no, I'm originally from Louisiana. Did I talk too fast? Oh, because I know I talk fast, and especially if I get nervous, I can talk really fast, so.
Walk fast, too.
I don't walk as fast as I used to. Yes, ma'am?
What did you say about the flour? You used to use it, but you don't?
Yeah. Anyway, I know her. I used to use the Wheat Montana Farms white flour and the whole wheat flour, and it is a better flour, but now I use only Spelt. But I'm going to tell y'all that again in the next class.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I only use Spelt now, and I find that I do a lot better with the Spelt. Yes, ma'am?
Do you just use filtered water, or is that tap water that you put in there?
This is this bottled water, but I use water out the faucet at home.
Oh, okay, in with your sourdough and then kill the bacteria?
Oh, when I feed my sourdough, I use milk.
Milk.
I use milk with my sourdough. Yes,
What
ma'am.
is that called that you put on top to let the dough rise that?
The beeswax cup.
Oh, yeah, where'd you get that?
I can't remember. What are they called? A girl back home sells them, well, used to sell them. Tommy, excuse me just a minute. Remember we had that Christmas list, where people could order stuff from different people we know?
Yeah.
Are these things still on there?
Should be, if the link is still good.
Would
So
you?
so Alderman Farms, just go to aldermanfarms.net, and there's a menu at the top that's, I think.
No,
it
but I
says-
wanted to know the name of these things.
Oh, I don't know.
Pull that up on my phone.
Man,
Pull it up.
I'll do better.
Is it just beeswax wax? Yeah.
But if you go to aldermanfarms.net, and there's stuff made by our friends, I think is what it's called. I'll look.
Yeah, and we just had done that for a few different Christmases, just for different people we know that sold things where you could go and get, more unique gifts. And she sold a pack of 4, I think, for $20, so I thought it was a good deal.
It's been a few years ago, though, maybe.
Yeah, and she may not be doing them
They
anymore.
also have do-it-yourself YouTube.
Yes, yeah, I was fixing to start doing them myself when she did it, because that's a messy job.
Yeah, I haven't tried it.
Yeah.
It's on there.
Yeah. Okay, yes, ma'am.
How often do you feed your sourdough starter?
Aldermanfarms.net.
How often are you supposed to feed your
Yes.
sourdough?
I should say, how long will you let it go and it'll still be okay?
This sourdough starter is over a year old. It hasn't. I've dipped out of it to make my pita bread because I had a lot. That's what I do at my sourdough starter. Yeah, we'll talk about this. This isn't in the next class. Let me put this back on here. What I do with my sourdough starter is I'll feed it and I'll get a bunch of it and I'll put it in the fridge. And so I call that my mother. And so then I'll just scoop out of it. Like you can take like 1/4 of a cup out, feed it a few times till it gets active, and make bread with that. Well, you still have your mother.
Okay.
And then with my pita bread, I don't even take it out and feed it. And see, that's what I mostly make because it's so quick and easy. I'll dip out, what was it, 1/4 of a cup, or 1/2 a cup, whatever it was in the recipe. I look at so many recipes I can't remember. I never do a recipe by memory. But anyway, I just did it cold out the refrigerator to make a pita. I mean, it works great. But you should feed your sourdough starter every few weeks. Some people say once a week. To me, it's going to depend on how active your starter is. But I love the method of having a lot in the fridge, just pulling from it. Then once this jar gets down low, start feeding it again, build it back up, and start all over again. That way, I hate having to have it on the counter all the time and having to do it every day. So that's just my method of the way I've done it.
Okay, and the second question was the Spelt Flour. Do you get it from the same place, or what brand do you recommend?
I get my Spelt Flour from Azure Standard.
Oh, okay, I've heard of that.
Okay, AZURE Standard. And see, I meant to write down my link because they're cool, because if you use my link, and you spent $100, I'd get 25. Now, it's not a pyramid, that's the only time I'd get anything, but it's to encourage you to share Azure. So share
So we
Azure
can
on our
go on your
Facebook.
website and get that?
Yes, I think so. But anyway, okay, I'm gonna go here and then I'm back over there. Yeah, yes ma'am.
You said you put milk in your sourdough?
Yes.
Okay, does it not go bad or does it?
No, because it's fermented. Yeah, it's fermented. So what I do, I feed my sourdough starter half milk, half flour, and then I actually put sugar in my sourdough starter. So it's not a real sourdough. I've tasted sourdough before that I've actually spit out because I just don't like that sour. But some people do, and that's fine. That's just not me. Yes, ma'am.
So, I don't know a whole lot about spelt, and I have been hearing this more and more lately. What's the difference in spelt and like a regular white flour?
Okay, spelt is an ancient grain. And we're going to talk about more of this in the next class, but it's an ancient grain. A lot of your flours today have been changed. It's been bred with grass, it's just been changed over the years, and just the makeup of it is not so good anymore. And so spelt has not been changed like that, just like the einkorn flour. Have you heard of einkorn? Okay, well that's an ancient grain too. Rye is an ancient grain. But, so spelt, to me, is more like what we're used to in white flour than it is to like einkorn.
It doesn't have a significant, unique flavor
Yeah.
like a rye.
And in the next class, I've got some examples of each up here. I'm gonna cut them and let y'all see, and we can even slice it and y'all can taste it if you want to in the next class.
Patty,
Yes.
with, I have two questions. Milk that you give your starter, is it raw milk?
No.
Oh,
I've never fed my starter raw milk just because I don't know. Because I know milk has bacteria in it. I'm thinking that because it's a sourdough starter and it has your natural good bacteria in it, that it would kill any bad, but I don't take any chances and I do use pasteurized milk in it.
okay. Another question, when you do feed your mother, which has been in the refrigerator, do you have to take it out of the refrigerator and feed it and?
Yes.
Okay.
You take it out, let it get to room temperature, and then feed it.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am?
I had a question, and maybe to do with my altitude. My bread comes out very dense often. And I have done a number of different recipes and really worked it and changed flour.
What kind of bread are you making?
Usually I'm just doing.
I mean, like-
bread, but like a organic unbleached flour, just a little bit of water yeast, a little bit of sugar with the yeast, get it prepped up and made. And sometimes they work and sometimes it comes out like a brick.
Well, I'm gonna
That's all
tell
I've done.
you this. Are you buying your yeast in bulk or what?
I had bought a bunch one time, I was gonna learn how to make bread, I was gonna learn how to bake, and I started making biscuits like crazy and all the breads I could because that was my thing I'm not good at.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
can cook, but I can't bake.
yeah, yeah.
So got the biscuits down, got everything nailed, but making a loaf of bread
Well,
is one thing.
now where are you? You said
We're
altitude.
in Kentucky, but we're at one of the highest points in
Okay.
Kentucky. So I'm over 3,000 feet.
Okay. I've got a friend in Kentucky. I'm not sure where she's at compared to you.
Very humid,
Yeah.
our weather.
But see, we're real humid too.
Yeah.
But,
Different, yeah.
one thing that I have noticed with me, I had bought some yeast that somebody had told me about that said was really good, and I had been using it, and I have a little canister that I have on the counter that I put my yeast in, because I do bake bread often.
Right.
And then the rest I was keeping in the freezer. And I just noticed my bread wasn't rising. Well, I switched back to the other yeast that I get at Sam's. This was like more of an organic or better for you yeast, but anyway, I switched back to the yeast to get at Sam's, and whoop, there went my
So
bread.
it's the yeast that could do the problem.
It could
It's that-
be.
It's just that instant yeast. It's the ready to go
Yeah,
yeast.
I think that's what I just use yeast. I don't even pay attention
And
what it
there's,
says.
there's, the wild yeast population varies from place.
Well, no, but she's making
I
regular
would like to
bread.
get-
She's not
I
doing
would like to
sourdough.
actually do that more.
Yeah.
To be able to grow my own yeast and not worry about store-bought.
Right, and that would be a good thing to do.
Elevation matters.
Yeah, that's what I was.
Any more questions?
Weird.
I have done sourdough and used tap water by accident. Just reached over there and, did the
Yeah.
natural thing. And it was, I don't know, did it once, and my bread just bottomed out.
Well, yeah,
As long
because
as
it
I
could
stick
have,
to the filtered water,
Ma'am?
As long as I stick to filtered water, I'm in good shape when I'm doing what I want to do. Two, I have a plastic, it's actually a cake decorator made of like a flat kidney bean.
Like a what?
A flat piece of plastic, it's like a shaped like a flat kidney bean. And I got it for decorating cakes, including the icing.
Uh-huh.
It's great, like you say.
To scrape your bowl out?
Scrape your bowl. And
We'll be
yeah,
back with
turn
part
it
two.
over.
Where's the camera? Here it is. We'll be back with part two in just a few minutes.